I guess a good place to start is perhaps the challenges that a lot of customers face in this area. What's the biggest threat to HR, and how does essentially a document management system, I guess, support in that area?
Well, I think, if you take a step back, every company wants to employ good staff, well qualified staff, and make sure that they retain them. So employee retention is equally important.
Yeah.
And most companies are now using an online platform to filter out CVs and present them with potential candidates. So the first step, once you get those CVs, is to offer them to the recruiting manager.
Yep.
And then for that manager to have the option to accept or decline that at that stage. So that is the first point of making sure, we've got 50 CVs or 100 CVs, we've whittled it down to 10, we want to interview those 10. What typically happens then is somebody sits there laboriously creating 10 emails, sending them out to the selected candidates, waiting for their response. And of course, with a platform like Therefore, you can automate that part of the process so that when the CVs come in, the approval process is in place automatically. The CVs can come through to the manager. They can do the approve, reject. Mm-hmm. Once they've approved them, an automated message can be sent out to the individual candidates that have been selected, offering a particular set of dates for them to come to an interview. And then you may also want to provide them with some sort of ability to upload supporting information for their application. So that might include a copy of their driving licence, their proof of identity, their current CV, and any other references they have from previous employers. And of course, if they're attaching those to email, sometimes they can be large files. Yep. Then the onus is on the recruiting manager to take those attachments off of an email, put them somewhere securely, and then manage that in the future. And what I mean by that, if you take, say, GDPR into the equation, if you imagine putting those documents into a folder, are you going to remember to go and delete them if the candidate is unsuccessful?
No, I imagine a lot of people will say yes, they would, but the reality is that isn't going to happen.
It doesn't happen.
You move on to something else, and other tasks get in the way, and then 6 months later, it's still sat there.
Correct.
Is the reality of the situation, if we're honest with ourselves.
So if that's the case, which we know is the reality, then there's lots of businesses that are in breach of the regulations that exist there.
Yeah, which come with heavy fines.
Completely.
GDPR has been around for a while now, and I think a lot of people kind of put it as a second thought. Oh, well, it'll never impact us really. When it came about, it was a big concern, and so it should have been. And then people, I think, started to realize, well, it's only really the big banks and the big businesses, not realizing that this stuff can come around to you and potentially will if you're not compliant with it. So, yeah, I think it's something that it's very easy to lose focus on because it's more than 10 years now, or around 10 years, I think, GDPR.
It's a good while, yeah.
Yeah, so I think people have kind of lost focus on the importance of it. Maybe not those in HR, but maybe those in other departments.
Yeah, I completely agree. And of course, again, if you use a platform like Therefore, then those documents can be stored securely against that individual candidate until such time as the candidate is either successful or unsuccessful. If they're unsuccessful, the system can automatically delete those documents at the appropriate time. And if the candidate is successful and you want to retain the documents or the information they've provided, that can be automatically migrated to what becomes their employee record. In addition to that, so as you move forward and you've gone through the recruiting process and you've scored those candidates and you've decided who you're going to recruit, you may want additional information from them, like bank details, next of kin, emergency contact numbers, etc., which all then fill out that employee record. Some of that data will need to go into third-party systems like payroll systems, but often those other systems don't have the ability to store documents or have particularly good workflow, if any workflow. And so once you have an employee and you want to make sure that now their onboarding is correct, you're training them on the necessary processes within your business, you want to get them up and running in their job role as quickly as possible because you need them, otherwise you wouldn't have looked for them in the first place. And then, of course, it's that long-term objective of keeping that employee in the business and giving them career progression. So you now want to look at things like performance reviews, training, and all those other things that go into developing that employee, giving them opportunity to move through your business and become a more senior member of staff over time.